Today, we're in Studio A, and so far we haven't been bought by Embracer Group. This is ChillPoint.
I don't think they have the money to buy us anymore.
That's true.
No. Feeling the pinch like everybody else, you know. You only make $655 million.
Yeah. I mean, a $2 billion deal falling through, like, that's got to be bad no matter who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I love... the more I hear about that deal, the more I'm like... They seem... I've seen various mentions of this deal, and they seem very... there's a lot... They never actually mention who the deal is with.
No.
And I feel like they sort of quite pointedly don't mention who the deal is with.
Yep. And
I mean,
that
maybe
makes
somebody's
sense.
figured it out, because there can't be that many companies that it would be doing a $2 billion deal with.
Wait long enough, and maybe somebody will spill the beans
Yeah.
to someone, and we'll hear it as kind of like a leak or a rumor or something.
Heavily theorized that it's Amazon. Oh, I guess it would be like the Amazon gaming.
Amazon might, like...
Considering Amazon's gaming division hasn't been very successful.
I mean, if we're just going to talk right into video games, we should just actually properly start the show.
We should.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint. Today, in Studio A, partially because, well, Studio B is being dismantled as we speak for moving.
But also because we didn't want to deal with
But also, yeah, the computer...
another 8-part episode.
The computer in Studio B appears to have some issues that I guess we'll have to look into once we move, because it is now packed up. But I went through the system logs on it after the stream, and there were a large number of things being like Realtek network device not responding, reset, which is not great.
No.
But anyway, so there might be something wrong with like the onboard NIC on that computer or something. Whatever the case, today we're in Studio A, and we're gonna be but we'll still be talking about all the video game news. Episode of ChillPoint went up yesterday. Went up early yesterday.
Recorded Wednesday.
Because it was recorded on Wednesday.
So for those of you who are like, but it's Thursday at that joke, yeah.
That's what happened.
Yes. So I guess, yeah, there might be more gap between that and this in terms of news coming out, but I didn't really notice anything too much.
I didn't see anything specific.
But then again, some of my sources of news were not available because they were on Reddit. So, let's talk about the video game news for this week.
So we're gonna start with like the fun topic of a statue, huh?
Yeah, the floating the Mass Effect. Well, this is not technically what the story is about, but
No,
we had to get in a little.
It's in the
had to
thing.
get a little
We
dig in
probably
there.
should talk about it.
For the Mass Effect statue. I suppose I could. Well, it's in the video. You can see what the statue looks like, and yeah, it is definitely one of those like. It went through. You can see it that it sort of went through some. That the like high level idea for like we'll have important moments.
Yes.
It's like we're gonna make statues of important moments. That's the intro cutscene to Mass Effect 2.
Right.
It is a very pivotal moment
Yep.
in the life of Commander Shepard. And then like we want to, people have gotten mad at us in the past for only making, for making like the an original cover be the
Male
male
shepherd.
And I
shepherd,
believe FemShep is like the favorite.
and
in fandom.
people very much prefer FemShep especially from a voice acting standpoint, from what I understand. And they've done other things with female shepherd as well, and so like all these things sort of come together, and then they sort of go, and here's oh no.
Yeah. Oh.
So
I can see why that wouldn't be well received.
there were definitely a few people who I've seen who've been like, I don't understand why this is bad, like why people are getting mad about it. And I would say, if this was the first time we had a statue of a dead female character show up in this fashion, it might not have gotten the outrage.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the Dead Island decapitated torso.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
that's the thing. Like in a vacuum of space, of just this thing existing, it might not seem terrible. Like, especially if you don't know anything else and you're like, but I did like that moment. It's whatever. It doesn't particularly. It's not. But again, back in like 2013, because I looked this up, the Riptide Dead Island statue of a bloody female torso was terrible. Also, fridging is a thing. So, like, in the context of what works within our world and like plot lines and things that where it's like, oh yeah, female characters just being dead, having a statue kind of out there
But also
feels tasteless.
Also, though, if you don't know that that's Commander Shepard passing away in space, like if you don't know any of that, you just see a skin tight suit on a female body, right, on a female coated body, kind of like limbs akimbo and kind of thrown backwards a little bit. It's like you definitely look like, okay, it's space. You know she's floating in space, so that's fine. But there is and I said this after we turned on the thing, is there's a latent eroticism to the pose as well. That's like, if you had made it more limbs akimbo kind of thing, it'd be like, okay, maybe that is better, but it also looks less dignified.
Okay, I've been in shops where they sell anime statues.
Yes.
It's very tame.
Yeah.
It's very tame. I wouldn't even call that skin tight.
No, but I mean, but we're talking about a continuum as well, right? That it's like it might be tame, but it also doesn't mean that it's not.
Yes.
It can't be erotically charged.
I just, like, if you just say it that way, it sounds like it's just completely terrible from the get-go, and I don't think it's nearly as bad.
I don't think it is either. I'm just saying that it can also be seen in that way.
I feel like if they had made the male shepherd version as well, even if, because the female shepherd is more popular, they hadn't even sold any of them.
Yeah.
Like, do the mock-up and then just don't sell it.
Yeah, because if they had shown it and everyone would have been like, whoa, bad idea, then that's one thing. But they were like, here it is, and pre-sale's open. And it's like, oh, shit. We were so into the idea of selling this thing that people started buying it, and then people started complaining about it. And we're like, do we really want these out there now?
I'm just saying, I can completely understand why you would go through this whole process and not see this being an issue.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you definitely get like a certain amount of, tunnel vision on these kind of things, I think. Like, people sort of, they go like, that's what this is.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
I watched a clip.
You don't see it in the further
of the
context.
scene that it's from, and as far as I can tell, because I've not played,
Right.
I don't have any attachment to this character whatsoever or any of these things. But from what I can tell, as an outsider who just also knows about other anime stuff and has her own anime figurines,
like, it's a pretty accurate depiction.
It's pretty much what that looks like.
Yeah.
Question I do want to ask, though, because somebody had mentioned this in the comments, and I'm like, I don't know how true this is or not. They said, also the suit that both shepherds are wearing is the same suit.
I mean,
there's no
that would be-
there's no boob socks or like anything like that,
the
right?
scene I saw had boob socks. I would find that
okay.
very weird that would be the same male shepherd.
Right.
Maybe what I saw was a scene from one of the remakes.
The
and
reason-
maybe the original didn't.
The
but I don't
reason
know.
why they had said in the comments, the reason why it was meant to, like, it's like, oh, well, it's all the same suit. You don't see any sort of differentiation in the body, is because you continue to play as Commander Shepard throughout the series, and it's like, yeah, so the idea is they want you to remake your Shepard in the new engine, is what they put in, what this commenter put in the comments, is that, like, we wanted to basically, you know, we're killing off this Shepard because then the resurrection of Shepard, you remake it in the new engine, so you spend time the character creator making them the way that you expect them to be, so we give you kind of a formless shape that doesn't really tell you one way or the other how your character's supposed to look. And I was like, well, that's interesting if that's true, if it's always the same, but you're telling me that what you saw was a different representation.
What I saw felt like a femshep.
Yeah. Not just kind of a mass.
And yeah, and you know, maybe if they had released it along with a bunch of other figurines that were like other pivotal moments.
Isn't that what they're going? Aren't they doing that?
That's
though?
the
Like,
plan. That's the plan. But this was the first one. Like they didn't release it as like
a set.
But if this is from the opening scene, I understand why this is the first one.
Well, it's Mass Effect 2.
Opening scene of Mass Effect 2.
Well, maybe nothing emotionally happened in Mass Effect 1.
You're right.
Mass Effect 1 was just a dud, yeah.
Nobody
Emotionally.
likes Mass Effect 1.
Yeah. No, well, nobody remembers it anyway.
Nothing
Everyone remembers
emotional
Mass Effect
or
3.
interesting happened in Mass Effect 1.
The emotional moment from Mass Effect 1 that they capture is just like a planet with your, I forget what it's called, but the planet rover at like a really wonky angle because the thing couldn't drive at all.
Now, I assume for the ending of Mass Effect 3 that they're going to put out several statues, because this, again, I've not played any of Mass Effect, but this is what I've heard how the ending works. They're all going to be a bunch of statues that are completely the same but in different colors.
Or yeah, the emotional moment is Shepard going like, with 3 buttons.
Or maybe it'll just be a statue of a mob pointing at their computers and being angry on the internet.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was a very emotional moment of Mass Effect the series.
More of like a meta thing, and then like there's a computer screen with a picture from Mass Effect on it.
It's everyone
more,
reacting to the Mass Effect 3 ending.
It's more of like a diorama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, feel free to take these ideas. You
can have those ideas.
Yeah.
I don't credit me for
That's how it works in Canada, BioWare. We're all friends here. All 40 million of us.
I will say, because this is tangentially related, I saw a little nitpicking in the comments in regards to how, because in the after show, Graham related this to wanting an Aerith statue of her death scene or not.
Spoilers.
And I believe he might have said Eris instead of Aerith, and there's some nitpicking in the comments about what her name is. And I went and I looked that up to see how that worked, because again, also not Final Fantasy, but I really do think that's just weird nitpicking. Who cares?
Yeah, at this point,
I mean, I know you do, and I know Aerith is definitely the canonical name, but if it was once done as Eris and someone says Eris, I really don't think you need to be nitpicking about that.
I mean, have they continued to call her Eris?
No, I think they
in the North American, like in the re-release,
fixed it in the re-releases or something. I just feel like, to me, it's like I used to write Sailor Moon fan fiction, and I used the English names for a while, so I used Malachite instead of Kunzite, and eventually
people got
I used
really
Kunzite.
mad at you for that.
No, because both are true, and in this sense, I still think both are true.
It's true. And I'm actually legitimately amazed that there isn't a statue of that. Like, that is like basically the not only pivotal moment in Final Fantasy VII, but I would say a pivotal moment in a lot of video gamers of a certain age in our coming to terms with our own mortality. The idea that a character could just like literally die in a game, and you don't get all the stuff that you gave her back
No,
either.
exactly, yeah. Before that moment, it's like you have
It's
to
like I
strip
spent so much
everything.
work getting equipment for you.
Yeah,
Well-
like I know you yelled spoiler and all that, but like I haven't played the game and I know what happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll play her song and like, gee, this song is so sad for some reason.
There's a point by which some of these things get written into the zeitgeist, and we all just really know that's what's happening. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, what else was in
So
the story?
this story was technically, I mean, it was about Grimace's birthday,
We should have gone to McDonald's.
which, and you may ask, why is Grimace's birthday related to video games? Well, because for some reason, McDonald's made a Game Boy Color game, a new original Game Boy Color game to celebrate Grimace's birthday, and then released it on a like retro, like circa 1998 looking website.
Very GeoCities feeling.
Yeah. And not only is it like it looks like sort of a flash game that you can play, although I guess it's actually like a browser emulator, because you can download the game and it actually is a real Game Boy cart. If you have a Game Boy Flash cart or
Analog Pocket.
one of the emulators or whatever,
Yeah.
you can actually literally play this game on your Game Boy. Why would they put the effort in to make it do that? I don't know, but it's fun. I mean, maybe they didn't put the effort in to make it do that so that we would talk about it.
So the most thing that we do know is that Cruel Toys, which is the name of the KROOL, Cruel Toys, the developers who made the games. This is really Disney. What am I saying? McDonald's. Same shit, different pile. McDonald's paying a company, like a development company, to be like, hey, we want to make a game for a thing, and you guys make games, and they got the license, or they did. But I have no idea how all this got hooked together, but they did. And so if you go to grimacesbirthday.com, you actually see the name of the developers on there. So it's like, oh, they literally, like, they're being shown off as being the people who make the game. That's kind of cool. They've made Game Boy Color. They continue to make Game Boy Color games all this century. Like that's like
their specialty.
That's what they do, right? It's like this is their thing. They make modern games that way. And I'm just kind of like, I think it's kind of neat that either somebody in the marketing department at McDonald's was like, almost said Coca-Cola. I don't really give a shit. That
Disney, McDonald's, Coca-Cola.
doesn't matter, but it's just like somebody there was like, oh, we should get together with these guys and have them make a game. And I haven't played the game. I have no idea how busy or different or whatever
Well,
it is.
I mean-
I would assume it's probably fairly,
Touch the button, find out.
yeah, it's probably fairly straightforward, but it really, like, I had flashes of, oh, this is probably going to be Flash game style, just very simple, my first game. But I'm like, if these guys have been making Game Boy Color games for a while, this is probably a little more involved. And also, yes, it works on Game Boy Advance if you have a means of getting it onto a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I do love this style. It's great. A web page like this, with the like copyright. Although, to be fair, I bet there's a good chunk. If you go find a website from this era that for whatever reason is still online in its original form, I bet the copyright will actually still be appropriate.
Yes.
Because it was a common trick back in the day to, rather than actually put the copyright in, you would just put a little JavaScript thing that would be just like put current year in.
Oh yeah. I just when on my sites I just put a copyright logo and then my name, and I didn't bother putting the year because I didn't want to keep changing it.
I like the "Have you seen this man?" Yes, I'm not telling.
I actually like the packet of fries as a cell phone.
That's pretty good too. But yeah, I'm assuming it's just that this company, they got contracted for this. This is what games they make, and it's just a neat thing now.
They probably were making their own games for fun and like selling them like privately, and then somehow it's like, well, they want to make this throwback type of thing, I guess, and so here we are. And
Actually, wait a minute.
the weird thing that Grimace saying to Birdie, that is literally insane. Like the line that he says is, that is literally insane, or whatever he says to Birdie. in a screenshot, and I was just like, did McDonald's not say, hey, we have some notes on the dialogue for our mascot characters?
All right, fail. Divs. There's no way people are going to be using divs back here. I want to see some table-based layouts.
Barely anyone had a clue how to use CSS back in the day, yeah.
I mean, also, most CSS didn't work. Fake. It's a fake web page.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were expecting.
God, that send this site to a friend thing. Oh my
Anyway.
goodness.
I saw in the comments somebody posted that they apparently it's a vanilla milkshake that's just colored purple.
Yeah, and then somebody in the comments said, I wish it wasn't blueberry flavored. And I'm like, I think this is like the syrup that you put on shaved ice. They all taste the same. It's the color that makes you think what flavor it is. What does it actually taste like, chat? Because apparently somebody said vanilla and somebody else said blueberry, and I don't know who to believe.
It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna have one.
Also, I'm choosing to ignore what you just said about shave ice syrup because it's not true.
It's full of lies.
I know what I taste.
Yep.
It tastes different.
It's like Fruit Loops, guys.
No.
It's all
Stop
a
it.
scam.
I will forcibly remove you.
Anyway, let's talk about.
Yeah, what was after?
Oh, there's also the Mario movie sequel mention, which is like, apparently Chris Pratt had said, yeah, there's a lot of talk about a Mario movie sequel. It's like, yes, Chris, of course, it made $1 billion. I don't think anyone was thinking, oh my god, they're going to leave this on the table. They're talking about a Zelda movie.
Yeah, well, that's a rumor that is, like, based on partially speculation.
Yes.
So I wouldn't tie that one up as a possibility. I also don't know that I'd want that made by Illumination, because I don't know that I'd want that, but
I mean, I fully believe that there has been a Zelda movie in some form of production for like 20 years. Mm-hmm. Like it's one of those properties that it's like they probably have been taught. There has been like various talks about it for many.
There was a rumor about a Zelda, like I think Netflix backed series a year or two ago that supposedly got canned the moment the rumor got leaked. Because you don't do that. Like a reboot of the like Zelda cartoon that they played during the Super Mario Super Brothers show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where he's like, "Excuse me, princess."
Yeah. Allegedly.
That's the only thing I remember from that.
I mean, I mostly remember that no matter what happens, everybody respawns inside this big like jar of smoke in Ganon Slater, including Link in that one episode when he gets hit by his own light beam.
So yeah, the next story that we talked about on thing was Starfield, which has obviously it's highly anticipated.
Yes.
And now, and we actually got some more info. There's a big long trailer that came out. Lots of cool stuff. Seems very, very cool. Everyone seems to, people are really excited about it, and it looks good. You know, that shouldn't be like a, I guess it looks good.
Yeah.
But it does actually, like it looks legit.
It's fun to hear about the amount of people who are saying, oh my god, Starfield's coming out, that means it's going to be an incredibly buggy mess. There's going to be tens of thousands of bugs. It's going to be the buggiest buggy bug ever. And I'm like, but also, then there's this interview where they're like, hey, we made sure that it's got less bugs than it used to have. And I'm like, so all of this, despite being really good PR, it's not really getting everywhere.
Well, I mean,
I feel like the like Bethesda games are buggy when they come out is sort of a meme almost.
Absolutely.
yeah, and I don't think you get a game this big. I still probably gonna have some bugs.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right, like the process of QA, for one thing, QA finding bugs is one thing, but it's not the same as thousands of people all like pulling the game up and then finding them all at once.
Yeah.
And secondly, QA only gets to list the bugs. They don't get to list which ones get fixed.
Yes.
And there's going to be priorities.
I think what people mean when they say, like, Bethesda games are buggy when they come out, and this one, like, there's buggy games, and then there's, like, not playable because it crashes so much, and or frequent, like, nightmarish things of people's faces moving outside their bodies and stuff, which is something that has plagued Bethesda games. So, you know, there's like a base level of you know, just random bugs and stuff that's fine.
Yeah.
But the hope is that
I think people, though, are concentrating on the wrong thing in terms of Starfield, is that they're very much into this, like, how many bugs are we going to find? I'm like, no. How many starships are we going to find that just are, like, attached to some guy's head who's running through space?
I mean, that wasn't a bug. That was a feature.
That's what I mean.
yeah, that was supposed to be like that.
Yeah. I want to know how much of that stuff is happening, because that's the stuff I want to hear about, is, like, what's all the weird hacks and tricks they came up with to make this stuff happen that way?
I mean,
That's a different thing, though. That's
yeah, I mean, the other thing that Bethesda is known for is having the I think it's called the Frostbite engine.
Oh, right.
Is the engine that they were sort of coaxing along
Yes.
for a very, very long time.
Right.
Much longer than they should have been. It was sort of known as being like a sort of a albatross around their neck.
Yes.
I'm assuming Starfield is going to be a different engine.
Well, this is the thing, is that
oh, Frostbite was DICE.
okay.
okay.
Oh, for Battlefield.
I am seeing, again, because the memery of it, the comments on Twitter where it's like talking to Game Bros about Starfield and having them be like, lol, Bethesda stuff is a real mess, and in the same breath saying, hey, but don't worry about Starfield because they rewrote the engine from the ground up, so it's going to be way better. It's not going to have any bugs. And I'm like, dude, do you tell me what you know about development?
It's the, you know, the devil you know.
Yep.
But
I mean,
anyway.
I did see someone say that they wanted bugs because bugs were like the charming whatever thing that happened, but I don't think they mean like the like hard crashing bugs. I think they mean, because I've played games that are a little buggy too, where, you know, people don't walk properly, they just slide around, and there is something really funny about that, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
I don't think anyone goes buying a game hoping it has bugs or is that way.
And especially when you're making like a sort of, you know, immersive space sim kind of thing. You know, you don't want that to just like take you out of the game.
Exactly.
So yeah, hopefully it'll, and
what they didn't say was, oh, it's bug free. We had a year,
that would be a terrible
We had about a
thing.
year
Yeah.
of QA, right? They
I mean,
didn't
I
say that
already-
we closed every bug. They
I
just said,
already kind of think it's not a great sense to say this will have the least amount of bugs we've ever shipped a game with. I think it would be fine if they had said something more along the lines of, so the thing of the release date was way earlier and we pushed it back because we wanted to do more QA testing, we wanted to do more whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of giving kind of like a sentence like that. But, you know, sometimes those are things you say without...
And in PR, you kind of, like, you don't always want to be fully transparent. You don't always want to give away the entire game of what's going on. You want to try to make things look in the best light. But I appreciate that Matt Booty at Microsoft Game Studios was being like, we're going to say this because it's a little glib, but also we expect that to be... We want to be glib about this. We want to acknowledge the elephant in the room because we want people to feel more confident about what's going on. Because, hey, look, we noticed that Bethesda games tend to be quite buggy.
Right.
So now we are saying we have helped that.
Sure.
We have kind of reducing the chances of that.
And you can say some of that stuff, but really it would take several game releases coming out that do not act that way for them to even remotely start to turn that reputation around.
Exactly, yeah.
And yeah, it is definitely throwing a little bit the like they were going to release, like they had a much earlier release date and then we came on. It's definitely throwing a little shade on Bethesda, you know, in terms of like, but on the other hand, maybe it's they're trying to, you know, put forth the narrative that
It's a new Bethesda.
well, and also that like that Bethesda's in good hands. You know, that they are you know,
We are good stewards of this.
yeah,
brand.
we're shepherding the ship
We're
or whatever.
mentoring them and
Yeah.
whatever.
Shepherding
kind
the
of
ship. I think
thing.
I'm mixing metaphors there. But, you know,
Shipperding.
Yeah.
you know,
But
ship
I mean,
shepherds,
you know,
the standard thing.
Starfield's supposed to come out in the fall.
Yeah, September, I think.
So it'll come out. There'll be whatever problems that most games have when they first release, which I guess if this is not like a multi-online player thing, at least there won't be queues or servers to have
Is Starfield
problems with.
not an MMO?
I have no idea.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Which is already making me kind of more interested in it. You know, as far as I know, like it's not, you know, Bethesda did do Fallout 76, but typically they've been doing single player stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so you know it'll come out. There'll be whatever reviews and such, and we'll maybe get a better idea of maybe not how buggy it is compared to other things. I assume there will definitely be like buggy montages of things that hit the internet immediately, just because that kind of happens anyway. And when you say a thing like that, it kind of encourages it to happen. But
It's all relative,
no.
I guess.
Yeah.
I hope that your game, that if you are looking forward to it, is good and enjoyable
I mean, maybe
and doesn't crash at the very least.
maybe that's that's the big brain move as they released Redfall to lower people's expectations in terms of
Woof.
bugginess.
That's some galaxy brain level.
Yeah.
We'll take a huge hit to a reputation just to.
But then, in comparison to Redfall, anything looks bug
I
free.
guess. Oh my god.
Let's
What's next?
talk about Embracer Group.
All right.
Yeah.
Embracer Group, in case maybe some of you don't know, is a giant group that has been buying up a lot of video game studios and acquiring
They're-
thing.
Used to be THQ Nordic.
Well, no. They bought THQ
They
Nordic.
bought THQ Nordic.
I believe they're well, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, what the actual... I think it was like they bought THQ Nordic and then it was like a company that bought THQ Nordic and then renamed themselves to THQ Nordic.
Right.
And then renamed themselves to
themselves.
Embracer Group. All that... The mergers and acquisitions starts getting quite complicated.
Yeah.
And we've made fun of them previously in a few checkpoints because their name is Embracer Group. And they acquire things and it just feels like they're hugging
Yeah.
everybody into...
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
at least for a while, they're giving like Tencent a run for their money in terms
Yeah.
of just
Yeah.
random acquisitions.
I imagine
But-
that might have been the thing that encouraged that too.
Every hug cannot last forever,
Mm-hmm.
apparently.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I saw somebody in the comments. It was like one of those things where it's unfortunate that things don't work like this in the business world. You know, they can't go like, oh, we overextended. You guys can all go back to being independent. Like we'll just you guys can we'll divest ourselves of these ones and stuff. It doesn't quite work that way. You can't because you gave a bunch of, I guess, investors money to buy the thing.
Yes.
So you can't just sort of...
And they were raising,
back.
like, I believe one of the headlines I saw in passing was that they had raised over $500 million US, roughly, as a means of trying to acquire more stuff. I think this is a few years back, that they had just raised this huge pile of money to basically to go in and start buying studios and companies and try to start pulling them into the whole group overall. Part of the Polygon article that even talks about this mentions their $2 billion mystery partner or mystery investment partnership or whatever was going to go on that fell through. There's also a $1 billion fund or investment established by a Saudi Arabian investor in Embracer Group that we have not talked about ever and that I knew nothing about and I did not want to mention in the article whatsoever because I was
That's
like, I don't
weird.
know enough about this to talk about it.
Well,
but it was in the Polygon article.
I'm actually
so.
surprised that hasn't come up more often because I've heard plenty of stories of like, the government of Saudi Arabia has been investing in a lot of video game arms. So like they've got investments in like Nintendo and like basically all the big ones.
And a bunch of esports stuff
and
as well,
esports, but then everything outside. And the thing I've heard about that is that part part of it's meant to like be part of pop culture to try to divest themselves of like some reputation stuff.
Absolutely.
But also, in terms of planning your investments, that oil will run out one day.
Yes. So
Yeah.
you need to have something else to fall back on, and you have a chunk of a bunch of other stuff. Why not?
So yeah, what the thing I found interesting, or one of the things I found, because of course, Embracer Group restructuring or whatever isn't particularly exciting as a story, but the combination of this sort of mysterious $2 billion partner dropping out and the the thing, and maybe this isn't like a revelation, but to me it was surprising. So for one thing, they currently employ over or close to 17,000 people, which is a lot. Although presumably most of those people don't actually work for Embracer Group.
Probably Embracer properly so much as for
All the studios they own.
different studio or thing they own.
Right. And then there's also this thing about Lord of the Rings, which we sort of tangentially mentioned.
I
but
didn't
you
really get what was going on with the Lord of the Rings.
That's
I
okay.
understood the jokes you were making with Lord of the Rings.
You kind of
but
just had to know this was going on.
I didn't. Well, I
I
mean,
only had so much time.
yeah, there's a lot like of for in terms of the story that you're telling. There's a lot of like prior knowledge you kind of have like one, what Embracer Group is,
Yeah.
and two, that the mystery deal at all, which we talked about on a previous ChillPoint, because that was really weird because their deal basically fell through the night before their investor release where they were going to tell people about it. And then I don't know what your Lord of the
Embracer
Rings
paid a
is.
lot of money to get to Middle Earth Enterprises to get video game rights to Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I believe to get like rights and so as we have as a company, as Loading Ready Run, have learned over the past month or so, the rights for Lord of the Rings are very complicated. For some reason, the people who own the rights to Lord of the Rings have decided to sell them off in a very strange piecemeal way, selling off sort of the different books separately, even though their books are, the stories and information in the books are sort of tightly connected.
Yeah.
Which means that different companies own different parts of it. Some people, and so, for instance, the Lord of the Rings Magic set that just came out was specifically about the Lord of the Rings, those 3 books.
Yeah.
And specifically the books. And so they couldn't reference anything to do with the
films,
the films, or the Amazon series, or
radio plays,
the Silmarillion, or
Did they do radio plays?
in the 80s, I'm sure. Yeah.
and so anyway, there seems to be about 5 or 6 people who own the rights to Lord of the Rings in various ways, including the original owners. I don't know if it's actually the family of Tolkien still, but whatever. Anyway, what this means, what the end result of this is that they, a little while ago, Embracer Group bought Middle Earth Holdings, which again was was a company that was formed a while ago, I guess, to have a bunch of the rights to Lord of the Rings. And they're really apparently going all in on that. So yeah, there's this great quote from
Matthew Karch, who's the COO?
Yes, the COO of Embracer Group, where he says, this is after he says that, after he's saying that we currently have 17,000 people working for us. That amount will probably go down by the end of the year. He was not very specific.
That was Lars, or that was the message from the CEO that was written. So technically, Lars, the CEO, said that.
Right.
Right. But then Matthew then gets to talk about, well, what are we going to do about all these games?
We know we need to be exploiting Lord of the Rings in a very significant fashion, and turn that into one of the biggest gaming franchises in the world, Karch said. And that is obviously something that we are going to be doing. that is a much better use of resources than some of the other projects that some of our teams have been working on.
And when you hear that,
So, your company was bought by your company that you've been working for a while, whatever, gets bought by Embracer Group. They're like, don't worry, keep doing your thing.
Yeah.
And then you hear the CEO not only say that, there's going to be some big cutbacks, but also anything that isn't Lord of the Rings is a waste of time.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a very just to have that the kind of, I mean, seeing the word exploiting,
Yeah.
right, which is why I used that in the lower third. It's like I want to be sure that gets captured and out there. It's like why is that being said? And it's like, well, again, if I had used every little bit of the Polygon's breakdown, I would have just been reading their story, and that's not fun. I wanted to talk about other things. But that I thought was a very important point because it speaks to a certain type of mentality at the top of a company who owns a lot of other video game companies. That's their idea of, we have an IP and therefore it is meant to be exploited. It's not meant to be like,
Yeah.
we need to be delivering on Lord of the Rings, or we need to be highlighting Lord of the Rings, or we need to be spreading Lord of the Rings around in more fashion. So it is about exploiting it.
Well, and it's possible, like, they Embracer Group is a I think they're based in Sweden.
Yes.
So
Swedish krona.
it's possible that there is like a slight,
Translation.
English as a second language, like not choosing quite the right word there,
But also, Swedes speak very good English.
or accidentally choosing the actual right word rather
Yes.
than the softer word that probably
Yeah,
should have been
because
used.
that's the thing.
But also, you maybe just using the word that they use internally an awful lot too, because that's
Right.
the thing about business guys, is that we do talk like that, where you separate out the idea that it's like we're talking about a piece of artwork, but what we're really talking about is the product behind the artwork.
Sure, that's still a sense I would expect to hear said to investors specifically, or to people who care just about the money. And I would expect some sort of different variation of this sentence in a more PR sense.
Yeah.
There's actually a great article, sort of a follow up to this. I think it was also on Polygon, that was talking about this idea of exploiting the Lord of the Rings franchise, and how, like, yes, the 3 Lord of the Rings movies were amazingly successful,
20 years ago, yeah.
and The Hobbit did quite well, the first one. The other two, I don't know. I know.
You're talking commercially.
Yeah, I know. Critically, the second and third Hobbit movies did not go well. I'm assuming they did sort of fine commercially. And there's the battle. There was the Battle from Middle Earth video game. But, like, if you think about it in terms of franchises, you think about, like, say, Batman, or, like, some of the other, like, sort of
Just even the Marvel universe. The
yeah.
cinematic
So
universe.
some other like sort of big build around franchises, like the Lord of the Rings has not been that successful in terms of properties.
No.
And I don't think that's any problem with Lord of the Rings.
No.
Maybe it's just that, like, the story doesn't necessarily lend itself to all these different things.
I think that's partially because Lord of the Rings has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen it represented. There's the Hobbit, the 3 main books, and the Silmarillion, and then unfinished stories on top of that, obviously. But it's like the story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We can talk about other stuff surrounding that world, which is what Rings of Power is, and like that kind of thing, and fleshing out a lot more of that story here and there. But I don't think anyone's in the mood to be like, well, okay, but what's the thing that comes next after this? It's like, I don't know, you kind of just did the big thing.
Well,
you told the big story.
they tried to do Golem.
Yeah, and obviously it was not successful.
I don't know why exactly that would be a pick. The character who is, well,
But it's like,
Yeah.
but it's like, even my personal thing, I really love The Hobbit as a story.
Yeah.
I think I probably like it better than Lord of the Rings as a story.
Yeah.
That's my extremely cold hot take. And what's interesting about that though is that it's fundamentally like quite a small story.
It is. Yeah.
Which is part of what I like about it. It's not saving the world.
Yes.
But then Peter Jackson went and made it that.
Yeah.
With the whole, like, there's the battles and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, and part of that too is because, like,
because he needed to make it into 3 movies.
Exactly, but they also explain the explanation being like, oh, well, Bilbo gets hit on the head and he misses the whole battle, and then he wakes up, and it's kind of like, yeah, that's fine because this is Bilbo's story. But instead, it's like, oh, Bilbo he can't get hit on the head in this one. So, but we have to show all the fighting and all the other things because there's actually the Battle of 5 Armies and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, fair. But it's like, but The Hobbit worked so well because it was like Bilbo gets hit on the head and then he wakes up later and it's like, oh, the battle's over. It's like, yeah, but you didn't need to know all that because it's his story. In his story, he gets hit on the head and he misses the battle, but he wasn't going to really be in the battle anyway.
And Tolkien wasn't really that interested in that aspect of it, right? Anyway,
so back to Embracer Group.
So I guess we'll see what's coming out.
Yeah.
I remember we did I think I don't know if we talked about it on ChillPoint, but there was a story a couple weeks ago about like Amazon is working on a Lord of the Rings MMO.
Yeah, we did bring that up.
Right, yeah. Which is like the 3rd Lord of the Rings MMO that's been in production. One has actually, like, there has actually been a, like, Middle-earth MMO that's been going for a little while now. And then Amazon has tried to make one several times, and it hasn't worked out. So we're expect to see more Lord of the Rings stuff come out, I guess.
Yeah. So the Embracer Group thing about downsizing, restructuring, whatever term you want to use for it, I think probably the weirdest thing is that they put out a big thing that says basically over the course of several months there will be less people working for us.
Yeah, it was a very sort of
usually,
like
usually I
blunt.
read stories that are like, hey, we all woke up today and found out we lost our jobs. And I feel like this is the first time in at least a long time I've read a story that's like, hey, so over the next 6 months, we're all going to sweat about our jobs.
Yeah. Also, yeah, it's one of those great, one of those great sort of passive voice, that they currently engages close to 17,000 people, and while that number will be lower by the end of the year, it is entirely too early to give an exact forecast.
Yeah, it's like they
bury
the piece in the middle.
Circumstances will occur such that there are less people working here than there was before. What those circumstances are, who can tell?
Yeah, we just know it'll happen.
We're going to close some studios that have been underperforming or don't make games up to our standards. And I hope they know what those are.
Well, I think what their standard is it making us fuck tons of money? Like, that's really, I think, what the standard is at this point. Is it's like, we aren't making the kind of money that we need to be making in order for us to feel comfortable sleeping at night. So therefore, we need to just fire a whole bunch of you, and that means we'll start making more money.
I guess that is probably the very cynical take. Yeah. It is likely true. But I do not I don't want to just ascribe to the idea of their only standard is doesn't make money, the end.
Fair. I mean, the trouble though there is it's like this company, nothing about Embracer Group speaks to we are interested in making great art.
I don't disagree with you.
Yes.
That's just not the world I want to live in.
Yeah.
And thus it is not the world I completely want to 100% engage with just cynicism and saying that is everything that the world is about. That's true. That's not where I want to be.
No, the world is not like that. I agree.
You can I agree that is likely the reason. That's probably true. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to just attribute that is the only standard. That's my opinion. You can disagree. I won't listen to you.
The other thing that came out of this was the legitimately very large number of game they have something like 130 studios across 20 continent or 20 or 30 countries.
Sure, yeah.
Not 20 continents. That would be different.
I would be surprised
Other
by some new
planets.
information today if that
Yeah.
was.
The Antarctic Research Station studio is really doing well. So yeah, they've got they it's reasonable to think that maybe they were a little it's not like they were overextended.
No.
Because it's not like they were like, let's spin up 140 studios.
No.
They were just, bought stuff. And so now suddenly they have like 200 video games in production.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's that kind of thing. It's like, well, I mean, we will create infinite growth, right? That is the idea. It's like, yes, I guess that is the
The more
idea.
games that are in production, the more games will make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not sustainable at all.
Speaking of
More games in production.
more games in production, and possibly not sustainable, Persona 3 Reload.
Reload.
Not remake.
I constantly want to say Reloaded,
Yeah.
but it's Reload.
Persona 3 Reload, which is going to be it's a re-release of Persona 3 coming out for Windows and Xbox. It was shown off on the Xbox showcase. And the stupid thing about this, and why we're talking about it, is that Persona 3 has previously been remade 3 times.
Well, this will be its.
This will be its 4th.
Yes. Right.
So it previously had been released, came out as Persona 3 FES. I have never found out what FES stands for.
Who knows? Female edition. Seriously.
No, because that's PSP.
Oh, PSP is where they got the female protagonist.
PSP is when they got the female protagonist.
Yep.
And then Persona 3. So Persona originally came out for PS2. So did FES. FES was also a PS2 game.
Yep.
Persona 3 Portable came out for PSP. And then, which, again, and FES added a bunch of stuff, some quality of life things. Persona 3 Portable added a female protagonist. Festival.
Yeah, okay, I could see that.
Do we know that for sure? Or are we guessing? Because that seems like an excellent guess. I hope that it's the case.
And yeah, Persona 3 was for PSP and for Vita. And then, just recently, they remade Persona 3 Portable, or I don't know, and re-released it,
They re-released it
for modern devices.
For modern devices, so it's on Switch and Steam and
PS4 and Xbox.
PS4 and stuff.
Now, I am assuming that wasn't like a full remaster. That was sort of a upsample remake.
Probably, I haven't looked at it. I have PSP for the Vita, and I've tried to start that game 3 times, and it just will not click with me.
But now we're on Persona 3
So this is
Reload.
Persona 3 Reload, and Atlas always likes to march to the beat of a different drum, defying expectations, and instead of making the most recent remake of the game incorporate all the quality of life and DLC and extra modes that they have built previously, they decided to defy tradition and release Persona 3 Reload as a completely redone, new graphics, new re-recorded voice acting of just the original one that came out on PS2 without any of the stuff from the Persona 3 Portable or
even
Persona 3
FES.
FES.
Yeah.
They haven't said whether the extra stuff will come as DLC or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I saw a comment that said that they clarified that there was a couple of things that were from the other editions, but not everything, and it was a couple of the character links or something like that. But I'm not, again, I'm not super familiar with this particular title.
I hope they call it. I hope it's actually like Persona 3 Reload, not definitive edition.
Indefinitive.
Yeah, indecisive edition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised to see this just because we did get the ports that they did
Quite recently.
like beginning of this year, I think.
Yeah.
And because they did that with Persona 3 and also Persona 4. Golden, I believe, was the port.
In fact, it was super annoying because I was trying to find a picture of the Persona 3 like remake that that happened at the beginning of the year, and it was impossible to find that without also Persona 4 Golden. Like they sold them as a pack.
They sold them as bundles, and they also sold them separately, which I thought was really funny because I think there's like a eShop sale going on the Switch right now, and if you buy them individually, they're like 20% off, I think, but if you buy the bundle, it's like 25% off.
Ooh.
It is. I think this is an interesting move because it's saying that I'm assuming the director in this case is saying I want to go back and I want to remake this whole thing and I want to do the good upscale. Not just I want to redraw the graphics. I want to re-record everything. I just want to redo the game that I did before, but make it 1080p and like all this whatever. I think that's interesting that's there's this motivation of I want to remake this game, right?
And it's this idea that it's like the first time we made this, we got it right. Like we added stuff later on,
yes,
but that stuff didn't make the game. Like that wasn't fixing stuff. That was adding stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but we definitely got it right the first. It's
exactly
which is an interesting that's rather a lot of hubris, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's maybe they did.
I'm just gonna quickly point out that while I enjoy Persona, it is a deeply problematic series in many aspects, and so the idea that the first go around on anything they got it right is
they got it right.
A little. I'm a little skeptical about.
They got it right for their definition of right.
Yeah.
I did see a meme going around. So I have no idea how true this is, but it was just a picture of the director making a face like this, like he was like answering a question but going like this, and then a picture of the female protagonist from Persona 3, and it was like when asked about the why the female protagonist from Persona 3 Portable won't be showing up in Reload, the director so and so said who.
I mean, that would not be off par from what I've heard of this person.
Well, that's what makes me
like,
wonder,
and it's
right?
possible that Persona 3 Portable he wasn't actually involved with.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And that could also then that would be a reason is to be like, what do you want to do? It's like I want to remake my game. It's like, well, okay. Then you want to put all this other stuff in it. It's like, what other stuff? This was my original game. I want to redo it.
I do love.
But I'm not saying any of this actually happened.
No, I'm just saying
Please keep
like in terms of like what I've read, because I believe this is also the director, the story writer, whoever was in charge of these games is, I'm pretty sure is the one who's quoted as saying that girls can't be friends with boys.
Oh yeah,
that kind of thing. Like there's some very specific perceptions that they have that are not good.
That's a weird way to put it too, because normally I would think it'd be like, well, boys can't bring themselves to be friends with girls. I think is generally the how it gets thought about in high schools, that straight boys can't be friends with straight girls because they're always looking for an angle. And it's like that's really, I'm going like way out on a limb there. Obviously, I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that's the opinion, right?
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah. I always, whenever I think of Atlas, taking a PR hit, I always think of my favorite thing from Atlas, which is the localization thing, or not local, the region locked thing. When they brought out, I forget what was one of the Persona games. They brought out the PlayStation version, and it was for PS3, and it was region locked, which most games for PS3 aren't region locked.
Right.
And people were like, "What? Why is it region locked?" And people got mad at them for it because they couldn't import it and stuff. Because it's a game that comes out in Japan first, usually like a year before it comes out.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And Atlas was like, "Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, you see, sometimes we like to charge different amounts of money in one region than in another region, and then people, but then people import it for a different amount, and that messes that up.
Yeah, we called it a gray market. Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone is like, yeah, that's the part that we were. it's like Atlas was trying to. It felt like Atlas was explaining it, like they were like, this is why we're doing it, and everyone's like, yes, and that is also why we don't like you doing it.
Yes.
And like somehow Atlas thought there was just like a misunderstanding that it's like, no, they are actually
So
we don't like that.
They announced that at the Xbox showcase. They also announced the because a lot of people were expecting like maybe we get a Persona 6 announcement
Right.
around now pretty soon, and that didn't happen. But they did announce another game that people have been kind of talking about.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions 2.
I wish. The shoot, what's it called? It's like RE Fantasia or something.
Okay.
And that was exciting because there was it's a project that people have been waiting to hear information on for a while.
Oh, neat.
And it has a very different look, but it does have still that kind of Persona feel.
Cool.
If somebody in the chat knows what I'm talking about, that would be great. I'd like to say the name out loud.
I'm sure it will pop up here in a second or so. And actually, I think it might have already got mentioned.
There we go. Metaphor Re Fantasio.
Fantasio.
I can't believe you didn't remember what that name.
Yeah? Yeah.
It just trips off the tongue.
But seriously, if you want to make Tokyo Mirage Sessions 2, I'd be there. Yeah.
And then are the coming up? We have the "This is fine" meme in Fortnite.
It's now a dance.
Well, it's an emote
Yes.
in Fortnite, which is just the person like sitting with a cup of coffee
And flames.
and like cloud and like smoke
Can we
above
please
them.
call it a dance? Because this is the only dance I want to do at Desert Bus.
You just want to be like, okay, I'm doing
just
This
sit-
is fine dance. It's like,
No, you just sit
I
there.
get to sit.
okay.
I don't have to do any of that. I
Okay.
don't know.
I want Fortnite or Epic to do something that their community really objects to, because I'm just imagining a battle royale game, like a Fortnite game,
Right.
100 people in like a big field, all just sitting there doing that emote.
Yeah, they all just show
Like-
up in the very middle of the circle, and then they just sit down and
Like
just
as
do
like
this.
a protest,
Yeah.
and it's just everyone's just surrounded in flames. Like that would be an excellent visual.
Just think about it. On Zeta, when everyone's like, "You guys need to dance more," we can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you can just trigger
Ha.
flames in the background.
Legally, this is a dance. Yeah. Because Fortnite defines what's a dance now, apparently.
I mean, we can be safe about it and probably get tech to add some flames to the overlay, or we could just start a real fire. Go for authenticity.
Hey, so good for Casey Green though for getting paid for this. Let's definitely point that out.
I mean, yeah.
For the amount of monetization he's been able to make off of a lot of his memes now, because everyone being able to point this out, and I'm like, yeah, because man, Gun Show is not a terribly commercially marketable comic. And the fact that people have found ways to like, oh, this is really great, and he's like, good, then I want some money for it. It's like, good for you, because I don't think anyone's gonna publish Gun Show in the newspaper. All right.
All right, let's talk about some other stories. Graham briefly mentioned the Overwatch 2 story missions, which will be part of Season 6 of Overwatch 2.
They're already in season 6?
Well, Season 5 just started,
Okay.
and so they've announced Season 6.
Like every 3 months or something. I think there's
Now
a new
these story missions are not the hero missions, which were the things that were canceled. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, and everyone got mad about. Because these won't actually have like progression for your hero.
one. Right.
To be honest, like there was like the reviewers like on Polygon or whatever got to play play through some of the story missions. It sounded pretty neat. Like it's basically you sort of go and you're like fighting robots and stuff. And
Right, it's all PvE.
It's all PvE stuff, and so and there's sort of little kind of arenas that you go between, and you have to do different. You have to protect things or attack things or do different stuff, different kinds of
Goals.
different kinds of goals, and different robots attack you and stuff, and it sounds pretty cool. But there was a lot of confusion about this when they first announced this. But I believe where we are right now, last time I saw, is that the season passes or season things for Overwatch don't usually cost money. They're just like, now we're releasing these skins, and you can go through a bunch of stuff to get them or buy them or whatever. But for these story missions, there's a either $15, which gets you the story missions, perpetually gets you the story missions until they decide to turn off the server, I guess.
Yes, that makes sense.
As well as I think you get a bunch of in-game currency and stuff. Or there's also a $40 version where you get the story missions and then a bunch of like more cosmetics and in-game stuff.
Which you get until they turn off the servers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Any game, really, but yeah.
well, that's how online games work.
Yeah.
They are going to be there until they turn off the servers. That's essentially what happened with Overwatch 1.
Yes.
And it's
People are still just a little bit
salty.
salty about Overwatch 1.
They're a little weirded out by that one still.
Yeah.
Okay, so Blizzard has to pay their employees. Like if you're going to be making content, you should be getting paid to make content, and the people who are programming content need to be getting paid somehow. And if your game is free to play, then you need to be encouraging people to spend money on it for the things that you are making for it. And then you get to talk about the level of fairness about how much you should pay for a thing and how much those things should be, So it's like, I'm all for saying you want new missions, you want new content, then this is what it's going to be. It's going to be you having to pay for some of it. It is a weird feel when you had released a game initially that was like, this game is $60 and boom, and you're done. This definitely, to me, feels a lot like this is DLC, and you can either go free DLC or paid DLC, but if you're making a game that's already free, then I guess paying for it doesn't seem like it's a huge deal. Shouldn't seem like it's a huge deal, but I know that there's a lot of that baggage because of how they've been trying to implement this game and how they...
It always basically comes down to how are they trying to acquire that money?
Yeah.
Season passes have become a pretty big thing now, but are they structured in? And usually, when you have like a season pass, you maybe have something comparable going on that's like the free pass. But is it comparable in the way of like the amount of time you need to go and actually earn stuff is impossible? There's a lot of factors that go back and forth on it, and in terms of like a free-to-play game, I'm not usually I don't play a lot of them for one, so I'm not the best person to talk to about that, but I don't have an issue too much with the charging of like DLC and whatever, as long as the microtransaction stuff is not egregious. $60 game that has season passes and microtransactions and is trying to do like a lot all the time feels hurtful.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
A lot of the stuff I think is around sort of messaging and stuff. And Overwatch 2 has been a little bit like has been very it's like it's going to be free to play. There's going to be this like season pass. You can buy this thing which will get you better access and faster access to some of the cosmetics and stuff.
Yeah.
And you can buy stuff to get but then this new cool fun thing is not going to be included in that.
Yeah.
We're going to require you to have an extra bit. So yeah, it does feel. It feels like it's stretching the definition of free to play to a certain extent.
Yes.
And I see a lot of people also yelling about like FOMO a lot of the time. And I do think in some respects there's nothing specifically wrong with time limited purchases or time limited events, because that's like we have those just in reality.
Yes.
But there are some that are done in such a way, that are pushed in such a way that they're really trying to push the idea that you have to do these things now or you will miss out. And that's the line that I dislike. I know that there are different lines for different people depending on what your anxiety is towards those kinds of things.
Yeah. It's hard to. I get thinking about the idea that if you make a product for free, then obviously tacking on a bunch of stuff you have to pay into, like, you're like, okay, the base whatever is free, but then you have to pay for more things. It's like, sure, there's people then saying, it's like, well, then just don't pay for anything, always get the thing for free. Or if I buy a thing, if I spend $5 on Tweetbot, I should get free updates for Tweetbot for the rest of my life. And it's like, I guess, except that this is a very iOS kind of thing, except that the guys who make Tweetbot at some point would like to also continue to make some more money. And so then they release Tweetbot 3, and it's like, this you're going to have to buy as a brand new product. And then people being like, but I already bought your product, and shouldn't you be giving me free updates for the rest of my life? And the answer is, well, actually, no, because we have to, if for us to make new versions or for us to actually develop a new thing, it's going to cost us money of our own money to do it. I can't just keep giving out free whatevers just because you bought in early.
Sure.
And that helped me kind of crystallize for myself that I'm like, right, at some point the person who makes the thing should get some money from somebody for it. And if you say, well, I'm always going to make it free and it's always forever going to be free, then I guess that's one thing. But if you're saying I made a thing that I sold and I'm going to make another thing that I can sell as well, and you can keep using the old version because it'll work for as long as you want, that's, I think, a little fair.
Again, you're describing a subscription model, which again I'm not necessarily against.
Yeah.
However, there are like to-do list apps that and stuff that I've looked at that do not get updated.
Yeah.
Are a very simple thing, and I would like to pay just once for.
Absolutely.
And they run under subscription.
Yeah, because they're like, you have to pay me $5 a month to use this. It's like, I don't get it. Right?
There are different.
But that idea then I guess too is also with Blizzard. It's like, okay, so Overwatch 2 is a free-to-play game, and it's like, great, well then everything in Overwatch 2 should be free. Okay, assuming that, then fine, if we roll forward with that for a little bit, it's like, don't worry, don't ever give them money for anything because they release as a free-to-play game, so you should always only be able to get your stuff for free. Don't worry, they'll keep making money. How? Well, I guess they'll make it on the backs of World of Warcraft.
Well, or no, I mean,
You know.
they also, like, there's tons of games that are free to play and make a lot of money off microtransactions, cosmetics, and stuff.
But I'm saying, if people with the attitude that everything should be free with this thing, then I'm like, then I don't think that's not a good attitude to have.
But I don't think anybody's saying that.
I don't think anyone's ever said that.
There are people who are like, no, if the game is free to play, then everything should be free in the game. There are people who have that attitude. They're a very small part of the population, but they're very fucking loud. So
if you say so.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I hang out in different parts of the internet sometimes.
I know, and I wish you wouldn't bring those parts here sometimes.
I see those attitudes, and I'm like, I don't like those attitudes either, because I think it is important to keep in mind that's like, paying somebody for a thing you enjoy is actually kind of nice. Patreon.com/Let'sReadyRun.
All right. So yeah, we'll see how that. I would be not terribly surprised if there's some rejiggering on how that actually comes out by the time the season 6 actually comes out. Like, maybe they'll be like, okay, well, you can play it for a bit, or something like that. Because for one thing, it's like it's like anything in Overwatch. It's a group thing. So, if not enough people buy it, then there'll be nobody to play with.
Yeah.
So you have to be a little bit careful about that. Presumably, a good chunk, I'm sure they'll sell a bunch, but, you want your friends, you want to be able to play with your friends and stuff. So anyway, we'll see what they do on that. Maybe they'll give people a little taste of it, and then you'll have to, pony up money if you want more or something. But
what's our next story?
Monkey Island It's a cool game.
That game came
Yeah.
out already.
Yeah. It's a game in a series that I very much enjoy.
Are they making a new one?
I streamed it on thing. They're not making a new game, but the latest expansion of Sea of Thieves is adding Monkey Island. Like
I did see the trailer
actual
for this. It
the
looked
actual
really neat.
Monkey Island, like
That's
a
super cool.
monkey
Okay.
Monkey Island. Which, by the way, the island called Monkey Island actually is relatively a minor part of the Monkey Island franchise. In fact, I think in some cases it doesn't show up in the game at all.
I think in some ways, I kind of had an assumption that 98% of it's like Joe versus the volcano, right? 98% of that movie does not take place in a volcano, which really made me mad when I watched it as a child.
So there's a bunch of fun stuff in it. One thing that has come out, which is kind of weird, is that Ron Gilbert, the creator of Monkey Island and the designer behind the first two, at least, and the latest one that just came out,
Yeah.
not only is not involved in this, but literally didn't know it was happening.
Yeah, he was like given a heads up that, oh, we're gonna work on a project like this. So it kind of sounds like it was a half kind of notification, except that on Mastodon, he says I wasn't even told about it. So it makes me wonder
Yeah.
about how he was informed. If they're saying, oh no, we totally told him. It's like, how did you let him? It was like, oh, we're thinking about doing a project on a thing that we're going
Whoa.
to tell you something that you might have been you might have liked back in the day. And it's like, great, you kind of not told me anything? Like, who knows how they informed or didn't inform
Like,
him?
did they even need to tell him?
No, like, to be fair, this is not there's no sort of,
Okay.
like, he doesn't own the rights to it. Mm-hmm. There's been the Telltale games and there's been other stuff. He doesn't own the rights to it, but people are just like, oh, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I mean, I agree. I just want to I want to be sure we know
Yeah, this isn't like an
if
actual
it's like,
legal problem.
No.
they just made it and they maybe should have told him, or if it's more of that thing of like, I didn't have to tell you, but it would have been nice.
Would have been nice. And it also means that, like, there isn't going to be. It sets a certain expectation in terms of what the sort of writing and stuff is going to be like.
Yeah.
If Ron Gilbert wasn't involved in it, then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
Also,
yeah, yeah.
if I don't know,
maybe.
if you get a phone call and it's like, hey, by the way, we're making this thing, it'd be like, okay, cool. Am I involved in this somehow? No, we just thought we'd let you know.
It could have.
Okay, I don't know.
Like, it could have been as much as a thing of, like, we sent an email to him or to his production agency or whatever and being like, hey, so in Sea of Thieves, we're going to add an island and call it Monkey Island. And then that was it. Like, if that's just what they said, it's like, okay. And it's like, oh, it actually turns out it's actual game content.
I mean, it looks really neat.
We're making a lot of suppositions.
Maybe because Ron Gilbert isn't involved in it, it will have a satisfying ending, though.
Oh, well.
I mean, maybe.
Knives Out.
Do you
Slightly
do
annoyed
you,
at-
do you play
at-
Sea of Thieves?
I do not.
Are you tempted to now with this information?
A little bit.
Because I think the trailer I watched basically said that this was different than how this would be different than you expect Sea of Thieves to be.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. Like, I figure people who already play Sea of Thieves or have played some of it might come back to play it because I think it's just in there, right? It's not like a paid for DLC thing or anything.
Yeah.
We'll probably go to check it out. But I am kind of curious how many people were like maybe not interested in Sea of Thieves, but are interested in trying that out, especially if it plays different.
There is one person in chat already who has said they will play Sea of Thieves for this.
Yeah, it's Lysander Salamander in the chat. I would. If it wasn't for the fact that I usually don't like
Getting ganked by other people?
Well, I just don't really like MMO type games.
Sure, yeah.
I would be a lot more interested in CFD. Like, it seems like it would be fun to play. Sailing around and all that stuff.
Get in a flotilla with the longest johns and just sing sea shanties all day.
But the online MMO aspect of it really turns me off. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I do think the Sea of Thieves is a thing I would be more interested in playing if I could just play it on my own and not have mystery ships come out and steal all my stuff. And PvP is not really
It's
not- it's
why I
not-
like
it's
the
not
single
a
player
thing.
games.
It's again that fascinating area of like like Grand Theft Auto, Sea of Thieves, all this thing where it's like you're playing pirates, but you want it to be fun. So it's like you're pirates, but don't be like a dick about it.
Yeah. Obey the code, right? Don't fuck over another pirate unless he has something you want. You know?
Except it's like but of course in the world of in Sea of Thieves, in the world of Sea of Thieves, there I would imagine that the per capita of pirates to non-pirates is way out of whack.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fair. Yeah.
Like there's probably not enough, like there's just like one, there's just like a couple of towns that just have a constant stream of pirates attacking them.
It's like, we can't make enough stuff for you guys to steal. Like, some of you are gonna have to settle down and like start farming or something.
It's like how it's like in World of Warcraft or whatever, there's like some monster that's like a rare thing, and you just have like a line of guys waiting for it to respawn so they can hit it and get the bare ass or whatever. Anyway, Call of Duty. This is now this story is mostly great because of the headline,
Yes.
which I think people have made fun of too, but. This wonderful headline: Call of Duty removes Nick Merck's skin following the streamer's anti-LGBT tweet.
Yeah, the enthusiasm is applaudable, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
harsh,
seen a lot of tweets about
harsh
how
but
playing
fair.
people is a bit harsh.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is about there's a streamer by the name of Nick Merck, who is a very prominent streamer, from what I understand.
And plays a lot of Call of Duty too, so it
Plays
makes
a lot of Call of
sense
Duty.
that he
Is
probably
part of
had this.
the I believe is not only part of but also part owner of FaZe Clan, which is like one of the big esports / influencer sort of groups. And he said some really
Inflammatory shit.
yeah, some really unfortunate stuff. And not only that, he said some really
Nobody was talking to him.
really nasty. He just sort of said some really stupid stuff, and then sort of not sort of doubled down on it and was like, no, I'm not going to delete that. That is my opinion. I'm doing this and doing this during Pride Month and all this stuff. And so Call of Duty pulled. So they had just recently put out a special edition skins for this guy and another guy,
Tim the Tat Man.
Tim the Tat Man. So they pulled his skin from the store so that you weren't able to get it. Tim the Tat Man, who, as far as I know, didn't do anything controversial, but is friends with this guy, and they sort of got
their operator bundles together.
They got the operator bundles together, and so he was like, "I'm supporting my buddy who was a dick." So you remove the skin, my skin from the store as well.
And they did.
And they did. So, yeah. I guess good for standing up for your buddy.
They,
But maybe don't do it if your buddy is being an asshole.
Definitely tells me a lot about who you are too, so
they have some transphobic asshole opinions, and now I have them blocked.
So yeah. If you had those skins, I guess they got taken away, and they got refunded. I think.
I would hope so. I would hope that when they take them down, that they actually just anyone who's purchased them has them removed and gets their money back. Mostly because I do not want to see what would be probably the fallout of people who had managed to buy those skins going around being really shitty in the game.
yep.
That's a
and
good
using
point.
and using those visuals to provoke more hateful nature of being online.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's you know, good on Activision, I guess, for
I will say
doing that. You know,
usually video game company says, hey, this person was an asshole, so we removed their content, is never a story I ever expect to see. Usually the story I expect to see is content creator is an asshole. The end.
and here's a new package about them.
So
So yeah, that's cool for them to do that, I guess.
Yeah, take a firm stance on that. Good for you. Good for you, Call of Duty developers.
So
because Activision, the publisher, decided to do that. So yeah.
So we had, since we last did ChillPoint, we had the Xbox showcase, we had the Capcom one as well,
Yup.
and I think like maybe a couple other smaller things. Was there anything that popped out at anyone on any of these?
I've seen a lot of good buzz about the Star Wars Outlaws. Partially, I. To be fair though, like, I've seen people be, shall we say, cautiously optimistic because, of course, the Star Wars IP has hurt people in the
Star Wars is it's
But-
not a guarantee, right? Like it's just maybe something good will come out of it.
I'd like that to kind of be how we consider that too.
But-
that it's
they're learning though
yeah.
because
Yeah, she
They-
gets like a little furry axolotl or something.
yeah, so like already adorable little alien companion.
Yeah.
Like you're already way ahead.
Yeah.
Look, he's the guy.
You're not going to have a BB-8, so you're going to have this instead. Yep. It's seems exciting. Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm hoping you play as the little.
Oh, that
Little
would
guy.
be cool. I don't think that's going to be where they go,
That-
but
that-
maybe there'll be like a part of the game where you need to like swap characters.
Yeah. It's,
It's always a possibility.
that'd be a great like subversion of the whole thing.
I do-
Like they do this whole trailer and then it actually is like the story of the little pet.
I do like it when Star Wars also shows off. Oh yeah, there's this spaceship and it's just a rectangular prism. There's nothing that special about it. Like it looks kind of interesting, but for the most part, it's just a big it's just a slab that we throw into space and it's fine. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of fun too. Like it's, things can just look really.
All right. There's from the makers of Spiritfarer,
Ah,
33 Immortals, like it's like a roguelike battle fighting thing.
yeah,
33
something
player
like that.
co-op. My
33
God.
player co-op. Not what I would have expected from Thunder Lotus. Looks a lot like Hades, yeah.
Yeah.
Hades, but
Yeah.
but oh yeah, they did a lot. Yeah, I guess they did. Yeah, I guess they have done a bunch of those stuff, but yes, Hades, but with 33 people.
Mm-hmm.
Seems cool to me.
Could be fun.
One of those things where you're like definitely asking for a lot, right? Because it's like, sure, 3 million people might have bought a copy of Hades, and that's great. It's like, so you're hoping that all those people who bought Hades are like, I'd like to do something else that's much the same, and then they'll show up and be like, and 33 of us can all play together at the same time, and you hope that anyone isn't like just bad at the game. But-
Did you see Flight Simulators?
Oh, I
getting-
absolutely saw
getting the Dune.
the Dune ornithopter from the movie itself, right? From the new movie, and had this brief thing of, well, I know that Dandy Geek and Ian both want to have a shot at like playing the Dune MMO, and they were like, you should come too, and I'm like, I kind of feel like maybe I should try it. But then I saw this, I'm like, this would be a little easier to put together.
Does
It's a good looking ornithopter, it really is.
Doesn't Microsoft Flight Simulator like have everything trying to be
Physics?
like real physics though?
Yeah, and so this
But
is
like this thing can't actually work, right?
right. I mean, nobody's built one. I have to assume that maybe. I mean, you'd have to have like, given its size, you'd have to have an amount of a way to power it that would be very different. And but just on the fun aspect,
I mean, it does seem like a neat thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can just like take that and just like, fly around San Francisco.
just land at SeaTac.
Yeah. Be advised, you are clear for takeoff.
Oh, there's worm
With-
sign on the tarmac.
Yeah, you are free to take off in your freaky ornithopter thingamadoodle.
I do like that they have said too that the cockpits are very believable. Like when you sit in it, it's like everything's taken from what they designed for the movie, and that when you see it, it feels like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. There was a new Japanese guy in another trailer as well.
Oh yeah, for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
Yunago Toku.
That's honestly a really fun trailer. Like
Oh yeah.
the amount of like constant faking out that you're gonna see him completely nude is just really well covered. Like
Yeah. They basically, I haven't seen it yet. I did try to watch a GIF of the when you were telling me they move a drink and there's like a bottle of
sunscreen right behind it or whatever. Like
It's like an Austin Powers bit.
It is. It really is.
It was like, I don't know. The Xbox showcase was actually pretty fun to watch. Like even the Fable commercial, the Fable ad they did at the very beginning with
Richard Iowade. Oh.
Yeah. that was a little uncanny valley
Yeah.
to see.
I was watching.
An actor.
So I was watching the Fable because Heather said you should watch the Fable trailer. So I did, and I heard the voice, and I'm like, that's Richard Iowade. That's cool. They got him to be the announcer for their video, and then they had him sit down into the thing, and he's talking, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. They had him. He's gonna play a character that's not involved in the game, and then they reveal that actually he's playing somebody from the game, and I'm like, I have no idea if he's actually in the game or not. I'm assuming that maybe he's in the game, but I realized that entire time because I've taken my contact lenses up at this point, so everything's a little bit blurry. I'm like, he's been talking to me as an animated Richard Iowade the whole time, that it's not actually him, because everything's just a little bit blurry, so the Uncanny Valley thing didn't quite kick in. So if you always have a problem with the Uncanny Valley, take your glasses off, and you'll feel way better about robots invading our culture.
Beach doesn't. I also have not played Fable, but when I saw it, I was just like, "Hey, you have to watch this trailer. No
Yeah.
reason why. You'll figure it out
Yeah.
immediately."
If I didn't know that that's what this was, I would have fallen on my ass. Like I would have been like, "This is Fable," and I'm like, "Well, if it's gonna have this kind of sense of humor too, then great, good for them."
This one.
If you don't have glasses, rub some Vaseline on your eyes. It'll kind of soften the effect.
Don't do that.
Jusant or Jusant. I don't know how
Probably
you.
Jusant?
Oh right, don't us doing this.
This one looks. This one looked pretty neat.
An exploration platformer, you say?
Yeah, this is definitely seems like it could definitely be my jam. This is just a. I think this is just a sort of. I mean, it says
Oh,
it
yeah.
says in engine, but I don't know if you actually see any gameplay in
It's
this.
a cinematic trailer though.
Once again,
Cute sidekick. Yep.
adorable alien sidekicky thing.
Mm-hmm.
Always good to have. Always good to have.
Got them tats. Yeah.
Rock climbing.
Mystical future devices and climbing stuff.
Yeah, some sort
Jesus.
Well, that's why you
Put the
anchor.
piton down, yeah.
So when you miss,
Yes, round houses built into caves, cliff sides.
and like check out the rocks and stuff. They look so good.
They do. It's a good thing you can render rocks pretty well in engines as opposed to like grass and stuff.
Yeah, man, we got to get an elevator. Also, best tagline. Oh, here's the in-game stuff. So yeah, third person running around jumping. I mean, this looks very Assassin's Creed, but
Yeah.
that's good. I mean,
Oh, that's
the,
cool.
The climbing part of Assassin's Creed. So yeah, you can see the little puzzle platformer stuff.
yeah.
I'm all about the puzzle platformers.
No, yeah, this is scratching a lot of like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom itches for me too. Watching this, like,
And Don't Nod does the Life is Strange series.
so
they have like a lot of story based stuff under their
I know that it's all
team as well.
I know that it's all in-game footage, but I keep expecting to see.
You could pet it.
I keep expecting to see
It's
like
snuggling.
a health meter or a stamina meter or like
There we go. Climb. Fall 2003. Excellent tagline.
That's really good. Good
Yeah.
for them.
But yeah, you expect to see some sort of stamina meter or
Yeah,
something.
it's just kind of like, surely you just can't keep climbing and climbing and climbing. It's like, actually, maybe you can, because the game is largely about that.
Or maybe there's one of those things where they, or where, it's not like a super visible thing. It's just, she gets tired.
Yeah, start to blink or something.
Or-
that would give
It
you a
might
sense.
not-
Or maybe they just aren't showing the UI.
There might not be any stamina or anything at all, because
Yeah.
if it's heavily story based, like a lot of their other games might be.
It might be
That-
more about the
It
puzzles
might just
as
be
opposed
about
to the,
having
like,
fun and doing puzzles and not
Yeah,
caring
yeah.
about that part.
That would be fun too.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I like survivor simulation type games. But I don't really care for games that are trying to do another thing and then give you a hunger meter on top of it.
Stamina while climbing is essentially weapon degradation on your arms.
Arm just falls off. I'm going to need to find a new arm in a treasure chest.
Yeah, you can't expect a ghost goat to give you their arm every
It's
week.
true, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, lots of cool stuff. With this is the, like I always say, this is the like the weird vacuum that E3 leaves, and yet the sort of ghostly remains of E3 still make everybody do their announcements around this time.
Yeah.
When E3 would have been.
Yeah, well, so I went to the Summer Game Fest site after the last showcases that I knew were coming up went. Like after, because I think Capcom was the last one they originally had on there. If you go there now, they also list like an Annapurna showcase at the end of the month. And part of me is just like,
That doesn't count as Summer Games
is
Fest.
that
That's just
actually,
a different thing.
Is that actually part of your thing?
You get,
Yeah.
Or are you just
You
are
can't
you
just-
like, oh hey, there's another event
yeah,
happening.
you can't just claim all future video game events as part of your bid.
It's true, yeah. As long as the summer is going on, then it's part of Summer Game Fest. I'm gonna get that right.
There's
Apparently-
only one game.
So apparently there is a demo for Jusant, and it has stamina in the demo.
Oh, interesting.
There's a demo for it already.
Yep. So thank you to
Cool.
on M0.
I wasn't aware there was a demo of that one.
Yeah, there's
I've mostly been hearing people talk about the Lies of P demo.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize there was a demo of that one.
Yeah, that one came out over the
That's a
weekend.
Pinocchio game, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Very-
Pinocchio Dark
letting them
Souls.
know.
Yeah. I'm usually like, in the same way as that, like, I'm not super into early access stuff. I kind of shy away from demos because I'm like, if I enjoy it, then I'll be like all sad because I can't play it. And especially if it's like the demo that comes out like before the game. Like if it's just like to get you to try the game and then you can just immediately buy the real game, that's different. But if it's like a preview and then the actual game is going to be a couple months, you get like, oh, I like that. But now when it actually comes out, I'll have already played the first bit and then
Yeah,
I want to play it all in one go.
There's different ways people do demos too, and some that work out better for me. I don't know how the Pinocchio Bloodborne one.
I think we need a shorter term. We either need to call it like Dark Nose, or we need Nose Souls, or Bloodborne. It could be Nosebleedborne.
I don't like any of these names. I don't like the name of the game personally either.
The Lies of P.
I don't like saying it out loud.
Yeah.
It sounds
The old.
not great.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the idea of the like, the like Pinocchio, but it's like dark and gritty. It's got a very like American McGee's Alice feel to it.
I did see a comic somebody had drawn about a dark and gritty Pinocchio where guys break into Geppetto's workshop. You don't know that's what's going on, but they're harassing this old man, and they want to take his money or whatever. And then you hear somebody say something off camera, and it's like it's a really weird like non sequitur thing, but it's also just like a really weird not true thing. And all of a sudden, a guy dies, and then like you hear it again, because everyone's really confused, and another guy dies, but this time there's just like a spear just kind of goes right through him. And then you realize at the end, like, Pinocchio jumps down and he hugs the other dude, says a lie, and shoots his nose right through the guy's. And it was like, I see. I'm like, good twist, good twist. It was drawn to be dark, but also drawn as a cartoon making fun of it.
I get that. I understand.
I am not going to kill you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you said I love you, and then that's what did it.
But yeah, like I've played some demos that are for visual novels where the demo itself gives a slightly different story so that you can get a feel of the mechanics and what like kind of a full section really feels like, but it has nothing to do with the story because the story is a mystery.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah,
that can be a lot of fun.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah, like a little sort of side story or something.
Or a lot of especially like RPG based demos now are like the first few hours of the game, and then your save data will go over so that you can continue just playing the game. Generally like that for longer games.
Those are great.
And as somebody in the chat pointed out, the big use for demos is to make sure that the game actually like plays well on your system and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Especially for PC.
I will generally check out a demo, especially on Switch, just to see how well that's working there for a game. And I will also check out a demo for a game that I'm not certain about because I don't know if I like those kinds of mechanics.
Yeah. You definitely like the ideal demo sort of drops you in and just like gets you so that you can sort of get an idea of the sort of gameplay loop as quickly as possible.
Which I think also then is a good illustration of, because there used to be there were demos released like earlier where it's like we drop you into the game like where stuff is happening and we kind of give you just a brief overview of here's the things you're gonna have to do, and then you start doing it. But really that chunk of the game is not the beginning of the game because they want to do other things at the beginning of the game.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Masahiro Sakurai did a video earlier this week, I think it was, where he talked about how when you are giving people stuff to do, like let them start immediately, like let them start playing the game, give them some hints about stuff to do, like give them a bit of tutorial if you need to, but that should be like, you should be minimizing the amount of time that you're taking somebody's hands off the controller while they're waiting for stuff to happen. It's like, give them a way to get into the game, let them get started, let them kind of learn as they're going, because that will and let them start again after they fail really fast as well. And I love that idea of, like, especially in a demo, to be like, we're going to drop you at the beginning of the game, but the beginning of the game is put you in the game, let you start playing it, let you get a feel for what's going on.
I mean, we always, on Unskippable, we always would, make fun of it's like, when the game starts with like the scrolling text or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, Okami is such a good game, but has such it's got like a half-hour opening cutscene.
It feels like there's too much going on. You're like, what is happening here? Like, I didn't expect to sit down and have to sit through this.
Anyway, I think that's it for video game news stuff. As we mentioned in the checkpoint, next week, no checkpoint.
No checkpoint, no chill point.
And no chill point. We'll at least be back with ChillPoint the week after, I think.
That should be simple enough to do.
Whether we're back with Checkpoint will depend on a few different things. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will talk to all y'all later. Bye.